I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello everyone. Amy here. No April today. April is just getting back from a long trip on the East Coast. She was in Miami for a trade show for Hot Octopus, talking all about sex toys. And then she got to go to the Caribbean to have a good old time with her partner. And on our next episode for next week, I'm sure April will join us with a lot of wonderful stories. I too will have some stories about my adventures at Sex Geek Summer Camp. That's where I recorded this episode. This episode is actually on erotic breath, and I believe we're titling it something about anal breathing because this particular erotic breath that this instructor teaches us involves the anus, and you'll learn why. So stay tuned. And fun fact, anal, I think the word anal is our number one searched word on our website, shamelesssex.com. Fun fact of the day. So I know you all miss April. She will be back soon. Before we dive into the podcast and read the bio, a couple announcements for all you California folks. April and I will be teaching a workshop on June 29th. This is 2019 down in Grover Beach, California, near San Luis Obispo. We are teaching Oral Sex 101. That's oral sex for everyone. This is on a Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Come join, learn, play, and the workshop is essentially only $5 because it's a $25 admission, but you get a $20 gift certificate to the store. And we are teaching at Diamond Adult in Grover Beach. Go to diamondadult.com. You can click on their events section and you will learn more. Oh, I'm choking on myself. I'm sorry about that. Also, this upcoming Friday in Santa Cruz, if you are in Santa Cruz, near Santa Cruz, we're not teaching, but I will be downtown. There is a new event in downtown Santa Cruz on north end of Pacific Avenue between Locust and Water Street from 5 to 9 p.m. There's food trucks, live music. I'll be down there. My mom will be down there. I think my sister is going to be down there. If you want to meet my whole family, well, I'll be down there. Maybe my niece, my nephew. I don't even know. But it's a new event that's happening on select Fridays for the summer. So come say hello, listen to some music, and I'll be there to maybe shake your hand. Or if I give consent, I like hugs too, with consent. Just don't steal them. Those are some announcements for upcoming events. I want to read a couple testimonials that we received from listeners on the note of the anus. As we've talked about in past podcasts, that the ass does not lubricate itself. Well, this is what one listener has said. I'm just listening to the recent anal play episode, and I just wanted to say that my ass lubricates itself. I'm a female-identified vulva owner, married to another female-identified vulva owner, and I have no idea what it is or how it happens, but when I get super turned on, there's this milky substance that lubricates my ass. My partner loves it, and it means we only need a little lube or saliva to get started, and then my body seems to do the rest. So weird. Just thought you'd be interested. I loved that this listener shared this with us, and I am actually, when I was talking at Sex Geek Summer Camp, I was presenting about being a brand ambassador for Uberlube. And I mentioned that the ass doesn't lubricate itself, and another sex geek said, actually, the ass does have a gland that lubricates. Now, the gland that lubricates usually for most folks is not enough to lubricate for anal penetration with dildos or homegrown penises. And apparently for this listener, though, their ass is. So that's awesome. But again, most people, please use lubricant when it comes to anal. I don't know if you need it for anal breathing in this podcast, what we're talking about, but For all anal play, use lubricant unless you have a miracle ass like this wonderful human that sent us this testimonial. And with that said, our favorite lubricant, as you all know, is Uberlube. We love Uberlube because it's long-lasting, it never gets sticky, it has no flavor, it has no scent. It's very body-friendly. I recently had another person email me a sex question asking about the right lubricants to use for someone who gets yeast infections really easily. And while Uberlube is not saying that it won't give you yeast infections for sure, our knowledge is that it's less likely to give you yeast infections than water-based and oil-based lubes because it doesn't have natural matter in it. There's over 500 doctors on board. I think in the U.S. alone, they're recommending it to their patients because it's so body-friendly. And once you try it, you usually don't want to use anything else because the general consensus is, I did not know lube could be this good. That's how I feel about it. I want it all over my body. So to learn more about Uberlube, go to uberlube.com. If you use the coupon code SHAMELESSSEX in all caps, you get 10% off plus free shipping. Definitely go check it out. If you're ordering other things too, like other sex toys, you can get Uberlube and other sex toys from purepleasureshop.com. You get 15% off with the same coupon code, SHAMELESSSEX in all caps. Go try it. You'll know why. And again, if you have a miracle ask, we love these testimonials. If you're like, my body does this wild thing, send us stories because we love them. They bring joy to our day. And I learn a new thing every day. And here's another testimonial that's kind of funny. It was titled, I was fired for listening to shameless sex. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you for being fired, but it is kind of funny. So this person said, yes, the subject line is true. While I worked, I would listen to music daily. Music was a huge part of my life until I discovered Shameless Sex. I do not even recall how I stumbled upon the podcast, but I was hooked. At work, we all listen to music, Spotify, YouTube, many other podcasts. So anywho, my hands decided to take a shit due to repetition from my job. No, they weren't not masturbating. They're talking about they actually injured themselves in the job. I'm assuming they're not talking about masturbating. I could be wrong. So they had to go on workers' comp. Once I was put on restrictions with the company I worked for, the company dug into every little thing I listened to, did, and searched, and they discovered my inappropriate sexual content. They stated I violated company policy, aka listening to shameless sex. I feel I was discriminated and judged, but what the fuck ever. I love you ladies. I never masturbated in my life until the podcast came into my life. Tuesdays were my day. Thank you for opening me up to the new me. If only the job would pan out. So to whomever fired you for listening to shameless sex, fuck you. And really deep down, I bet you they discovered you listen to shameless sex, and maybe they're listening to shameless sex now too. So if you are now, sorry I just said fuck you, but not cool to fire someone for learning about sex education. And I think that is kind of shady, honestly, that people will do some research once you have to get workers' comp to see how they can screw you out of workers' comp. Not cool. So sorry, listener. Thank you for sending that in. Again, we love hearing stories, and we're really bummed to hear that you lost your job. And hopefully the next job you get is really sex positive and open and accepting, and is with other shameless sex or awesome podcast listeners. Another thing, Patreon. We never did Patreon for various reasons. But we have a Patreon now. If you don't know about Patreon, it is a way for our listeners who absolutely love us and might have a couple extra dollars can support us because podcasts are free. This is free for you all. We do make a little money here because we do have some advertisers, but this is not making us the big bucks, everyone. We have many other side gigs. And on the advertiser note, we only advertise brands that we love, love, love. We cannot talk about bullshit, right? So because we're sex educators. So we are also offering once a month, we're offering an ad-free episode that you all get for free. You don't have to do anything special. It'll pop up in your feed. They will not have ads to make up for the ones that do have ads because some of you have complained about ads. But we do need to have some money to keep the lights on and keep this thing going. Hence the ads for brands that we absolutely love. And Patreon, that's patreon.com/shameless. I believe that's where it's at. I'm sorry, shameless sex. Patreon.com/shameless sex. You can donate money to our podcast, and guess what that will pay for? It'll pay for new microphones. If you've ever complained about our sound, you can support new microphones. It will also pay for just this information and for helping to save and change the world through sex positivity. It will also pay for April's love for Pinot Noir and other things that we need to pay for to make this podcast happen, the time, the energy, and the wine that we drink to make it happen. And you get special offers for donating money to us. There's different tiers. So go check that out. Go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/shamelesssex. And there are some wonderful offers there, including, I believe there's an offer for a bonus video podcast that's only exclusive to Patreon listeners for donating and supporting this podcast. So go check that out. That's a new thing for us. And once we get those new microphones, we will give you praise forever and ever. We want to get the ones like the airplane ones that have the headphones over our ears and is connected to a mic, so we don't have to hold one microphone in one hand. And it's a little awkward when we bring guests because not all of them know how to hold the microphone close to their face. So that'll help you all with that. And we can drink wine at the same time. I mean, right now we can, but then we'll have two hands for a glass of wine, of Margins wine, to be specific. So you can be a part of that by going to patreon.com. I know. What a wonderful shameless promotion. Aren't you proud of me for doing that? Lastly, OMG, yes, we talk about it every time, but we can't get enough of it. Season 1 and Season 2 are both out. We are obsessed with this. This is a research-based online program that shows real videos with real humans showing you about the pleasure that they like to receive, the kind of touch that they do or give to themselves to have orgasms, to have pleasure. So books, we can only learn so much. There's also some good instructional videos here and there, but this is real time, real humans, real research based, and it's very tasteful, just short videos showing you these ideas for techniques, whether you're someone who wants to learn how to have an orgasm, if that's hard for you, learn how to pleasure someone else who owns a vulva, or just add more sexy things to the menu. Like, oh, I thought I liked this one technique, but I had no idea that I could have mind-blowing orgasms from this other one. So go check it out. Go to Shameless Sex. Go to OMG Yes /shameless. And our listeners also get $5 off, and you'll know why we are obsessed with this. April and I are both wanking ourselves with this. We're getting ideas. It's not like masturbation material in terms of getting aroused, although I'm sure someone could, but we were watching this to get ideas for Masturbation May in terms of our own self-pleasure practices. It was quite helpful and life-changing. So those are my announcements. I'm just going to now dive right into the bio for our wonderful guest, and we'll dive right into the podcast. And next week you will get the return of the April. I miss her so much. I haven't seen her in like 3 weeks. So this speaker actually led Erotic Breathwork at Sex Geek Summer Camp in the mornings. I didn't get to go for various reasons. I came late or was sleeping in or staying up too late or whatever that is. But her name is em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee. So em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee is a renegade sexual mystic, a tour guide to the realm of Eros, and a teacher of somatic erotic possibilities. Em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee is also a certified sexological bodyworker, a certified sound, voice, and music healer, and a certified tantric sacred intimate. To learn more about her work, visit fiercepassions.com. And here we go. All right, everyone, it's episode time as promised. I'm going to say your name right now. It's em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee. Yeah, did it. Okay. And just to paint the picture, everyone, we are at Sex Geek Summer Camp. It's hot as hell.
Oh my God, it's so hot.
It's hot. It's already, what time is it? It's 8:15 p.m. Still hot. We're about 80 minutes outside of Portland. This is Sex Geek Summer Camp that Reed Mihalko started. This is his 5th year. He took last year off, but I believe this is the 5th year. And it's a whole bunch of people who have some sort of interest or affiliation with the human sexuality realm, whatever, there's a lot of different backgrounds and interests, and they're learning all about how to promote themselves, how to get more clients, all kinds of things, and how to maybe move forward in their career. And there's also erotic breathwork here too,
yes.
Which is what you did this morning.
That's what I did this morning, yes.
So so first of all, the question I like to start with, How did you get into erotic breath work? Like what inspired this path?
Well, it's interesting. So I'm a vulva haver. I have a vagina. And when I was younger, I primarily had penetrative sex with folks with penises. And I did not orgasm during sex. I liked it. I love getting fucked, but I didn't orgasm. And at some point, I don't really remember how this happened, but at some point I realized that like the sounds I was making and the way the breath was expelled from my body with each thrust, that there was like this conduit between my cunt and my throat that also sort of went out the back of my head. So there's a very well-known Black women's magazine called Essence, and my mother used to have a subscription. And the editor at the time, Susan L. Taylor, I still remember this, for her letter to not the letter to the editor, the editor's page, of everything.
Yeah.
She had this sort of iconic design where, so she has cornrows and braids like with beads on them, like down on her ass, and the I promise this is related. And the picture, the graphic was a profile of her. It was in black and white. It was a profile of her. And so you'd see like her nose and face, and then her cornrows, and then her braids streamed out behind her. And as you went further across the page, that became like the starry night sky. Okay. And at some point I realized that the way that there was a particular way that I was able to breathe during sex that made me feel like the back of my head was the cosmos. I didn't necessarily have the language to describe it that way. And then what happened was, so I was in the Bay Area, and also I was the person as an adult who all my friends, all my coworkers would come to with sex-related questions. And make a long story short, I ended up in the Bay Area, and I went to a massage one-on-one class with Chester and Maynard, and that I was recommended to by some friends, and I like fell in love. I was just like, it was just a massage one-on-one class, and I was like,
it wasn't even erotic, or just
no, it wasn't. It wasn't erotic.
Okay,
it wasn't erotic at all.
Okay,
I was like, this man is some kind of holy prophet. I don't know what's
going on.
I don't know what galaxy he has come from to deliver this message, but I am here. And I took 8 classes with him that year, and he was one of the instructors for the second cohort of sexological bodywork.
Ah, okay.
And so I did. I'm a
you did sexological bodywork.
Yeah, I'm a certified sexological bodyworker.
Wonderful.
And I had also done my CMT with Chester.
Okay.
And the way he did the certified massage training program was very different from anything I'd ever heard. The first 2 days, we just did breath work. And then we had, so first 2 days we did 2 days of breath work. And then Irene Smith came in, who has her career is she works with massage for the ill and dying. So then she came in, and then, so it's like you don't start touching bodies until the 4th day in. And after that CMT, I think I'd done the CMT. I did the sexological, I did the CMT. Then I did another class with him. And then he was doing another CMT, and he said folks who had done the last, if you just wanted to come to the breathwork part, you could. So then I came to the breathwork part again. And then I did the sexological bodywork certification. And I was like, there's something really powerful about the breath. It's something so simple that can have such a huge ramification in so many different parts of our lives, depending on how we use it. So after the sexological bodywork training, I had individual clients that I was doing bodywork with, but the breath was always the first thing that I taught a client, no matter what they came to me for. So and they were like, I don't think I've ever orgasmed. Okay, so let me teach you this breath. I was a survivor of sexual violence, and I haven't been able to orgasm since then. Okay, let me teach you this breath. I'm grieving. My wife just died. She was my first sexual partner. I'm thinking about dating again. Okay, let me teach you this breath. So it's always
starts with that.
It always starts with the breath. And I believe that I have this little quote. The breath is an anchor and a vehicle. So for so many of us, it's really challenging to stay present in the body, especially when there's lots of sensations and emotions. And the breath anchors us in the body, and it's also the vehicle that moves energy around our bodies. So it has, and one of the things I say, change the breath, and you change the breath, you change the consciousness, change the breath, you change what the body is capable of. So athletes do conscious breath work. Singers do conscious breath work. All these people change their way they breathe in order to do things that their body normally or more regularly wouldn't be able to do. And the same thing can be used to begin and or strengthen our relationship with self, our relationship with our body.
The part that you opened with, okay, so going back, because I know we get a lot of regular emails from people about, and I think it's a big thing, like, I can't orgasm from penetrative sex. It's a very common thing. Didn't mean to do it in that voice, but that's a common, we get it a lot. So
very common.
So because you started with that, do you think that, there's probably all kinds of reasons for whatever, but that is, but that there was something happening or not happening with your breath during that time, that your breath you weren't, because at some point you learned, okay, there's something powerful here. Has breath, maybe it's not with penetrative sex, but has breath changed the orgasms that you're having and when you're intimate with yourself or with other folks?
Well, breath, there's a way that I use breath when I self-pleasure, when I masturbate. I'm lazy. I never just masturbate with my hand. It's vibrator or nothing. So,
it's a lot of work. I don't do with those hands.
I had like several Hitachis, and they'd only last for about 2 years, and they'd burn out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Electric and rechargeable.
Yeah. I masturbate, or I used to when I lived by myself, 2 or 3 times a day.
Nice.
So, if I'm masturbating and it's just like, I'm just trying to go to sleep, that's one thing. But if I'm having like an experience, there is a way that I use the breath to change that experience, to enhance that experience, not just not even particularly the orgasm, but the experience that leads up to the orgasm,
the journey,
because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I would say that when I'm having sex with other people, it really depends on my partner's interests, whether I feel like doing teaching while I'm trying to get fucked. Maybe I don't feel like doing teaching. I'm trying to get fucked. And it can change the way the energy flows and moves between the two people. And, not that I'm going to say that, lesbians have a heads up, although we totally do. And we have an extra advanced thing. So, a lot of I kind of, I like to have like make out sessions with somebody before I have sex with them. And if we're making out and our breathing naturally comes into a pattern, and then I'm like, if our clothes are on and we're breathing, can I still feel them penetrating me? And if I can, that's somebody I'm gonna have sex with.
That's a good sign.
If I can't, we're not gonna have sex. And it's definitely it also, there is something particular, I think, about me, because a lot of times the person will be like, I've never done, I feel like I'm penetrating you, I don't understand what's happening, this never happened to me before. So there's clearly something that I bring to
you're
it.
like, you're kind of aligned, there's something about that your energies and your presence that just kind of locks in and vibrates in the same level, and then you're like, I can literally feel you inside of it. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. I get that. And why with some people they're like, oh yeah, we were there, and like, no, we weren't.
Like, no, honey, you may have been there, but we weren't there.
So and this is when you're not necessarily trying to do that.
Not necessarily trying to, but I think I'm being facetious, because I feel like there's a way, especially I pretty much only exclusively have sex with butch and masculine of center folks and trans folks who may not have a a factory installed penis. And so there's a way that there is a psychic and energetic connection between the person's body and we could even call it a prosthetic or the dildo or whatever they're wearing. And I can tell by how they fuck me, and now we're getting way off. Somehow we've moved away from breath, but I can tell when they fuck me if they are using a dildo or if this is their energetic cock. Do you know what I mean? Like do they have a connection with this piece of material on their body?
So, and are you speaking also to because you pointed at your head just now, you're speaking when they're actually present and embodied versus in their minds and in their, is that what you're?
But both. It's both.
Yeah, both.
It's both, right? Because there's no actual. I mean, there is a physical thing there, but it doesn't like grow out of their body. So it's their energetic body.
Yeah.
They have to have a connection with that, and being able to use that breath, whether they're and a lot of times they're not. It's not a conscious thing where they're like, okay, so I want to be connected with my strap-on, so I'm going to breathe this way. Like it's not. That's not a thing that's happening. It's just like an automatic thing for them. Where was I going?
Well, I want to come back to okay.
Let's bring us back to the breath.
Well, the breath, but so there's the vagus nerve, because in the beginning we also talked about the pelvic floor, and the not connecting we're connecting with your throat. And my understanding, the vagus nerve, longest nerve system, and it connects our pelvic floor. Connects everything all together.
It connects everything. So it starts behind the ear. This is when I learned this.
Is it behind the ear?
Yeah. Okay. So when I learned this was during my sound, voice, and music healing certification program, and I was like, I am fascinated with this. I'm going to do all the science and all the research about this later, and then I never did it. So I had already done the sexological bodywork certification, so I was already fascinated by the butthole and all the things that are possible with the butthole. You do. Right. So then I take this music healing thing, and so the vagus nerve starts behind the ear, and there's two of them. So people who are listening, you can't see me making these gestures
pointing
with my hands.
Ears,
Okay, so you have one in each side, right? They start behind your ear, and then they crisscross, and they basically hit every major organ, and then they end at your butthole.
Oh, your butthole. So not just the pelvic floor, but then, okay, I like this.
Right. And so I was like, are you telling me that there is there's like a nerve that goes all the way through your body, connects to everything, and then it ends at your butthole? What? So I remember when I learned, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing all the work that I'm going to do is going to be about around the vagus nerve. And then I got distracted and never went back. Yeah. But whenever anybody brings it up, I was like, the vagus nerve.
But that's what, so breath and sounding would be the tools to move energy through there, right? And people are probably like, well, yeah, I breathe when I have sex or when I orgasm. Like, yeah, because you're breathing to stay alive. But are you really breathing?
Are you breathing in a way that engages your whole body? Because one of the things I do when I'm teaching folks is I have them put their hands. So when I'm doing it, if it's one-on-one, then I'm usually putting my hands on them. But if it's a group, I have them put their hands on their own body and notice whether or not. So if we're doing this here, like, is the hand actually moving? Yeah. Because we usually breathe just up here.
Shallow
listeners,
breaths,
I'm caressing my chest.
Yeah.
So we usually just breathe up here, but we want to bring the breath all the way down.
You feel the belly expand out.
Right, and the side. And so I have them, like, they do this, and they do the side and even the back, because you want the body to be expanding backwards as well.
It seems like it's kind of as if there's this full balloon around your entire middle section that you want to breathe in and expand out. So not only does belly and sides expand out, but lower back expands out, which is not how people think to breathe. That's what I know that's what singers are doing. They're breathing the whole thing.
They're bringing the whole thing.
Because there's so much air to come out.
Well, what's fascinating for me that when I'm teaching, so a lot of people, like I said, they breathe shallowly, and then we have to like encourage them to bring the breath down. And it's a traumatic thing, but it's very helpful for me in my current profession. I had like an abusive choir director in sixth grade she claimed she was a former opera star back in Germany, and she would like humiliate you and punish you if you didn't bring your breath down. So it's really I can't breathe just in my chest because it's like, I'm going to get in trouble, right? So it's very easy for me to bring the breath down. So what I generally have people imagine, and I've worked on my imagery, because I used to say, imagine you're a roasted chicken on a spit. That doesn't really work. That's not really sexy.
Are we just talking
like,
about erotic breath?
yeah. So now I say, you are a lollipop, and your spine is the lollipop sticks, not those flat ones you get at the dentist, but the round lollipops. And so you want to.
Oh, your 3D lollipop.
You're a 3D lollipop. And when breathing during sex, when are you tensing up around the breath? Are you only breathing shallowly? And especially for folks who get triggered into disassociation, a lot of the times it is a very shallow, more a faster paced breath. And so slowing the breath down and bringing the breath down deeper, further into the body can help that tendency to the tendency of disassociation. It's not like, an automatic fix, but it can be part of working towards being able to stay in your body. And that's whether you have disassociation during sex or disassociation in
everyday life.
In everyday life or other, any other.
And that's what you're saying. What would you say is it's grounding and
it's an anchor and a vehicle.
Anchor and a vehicle. Yes. Okay. Love. So it can help you move places, but also anchor you down.
Anchor you
when
down
you're feeling
in the body.
like you need to, like you're not here.
Right.
So what is? I've taken various tantra classes and things, and I remember a lot of the breath was, in slow, deep inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth, and the and I'm sure you have plenty more to say about this. But what is we have a limited time for the podcast, and we'll tell people how they can work with you. I know that you do one-on-one sessions with people. You do it online and in person. But can you give our listeners just a quick demo, or even if you want to do a little guidance, and just everyone, so we're in the middle of a living room. So if you hear all of a sudden like a door open or a voice, just bear with us. There's air conditioning,
right?
In here.
Air conditioning. Okay, so say that again. So what is the breath that you would guide people, and what does it look like? And maybe if you can do just an abbreviated version so our listeners can know what that feels like. Well,
for them.
I'll do it this way. So when I'm teaching a full course, there's 3 breaths that that I teach. It's the anal breath, the charging or circular breath, and the big draw. The anal breath can be used by itself. The other 2 really need to be used in tandem with the anal breath. So sometimes, like today, I just taught the anal breath. I didn't teach any of the other ones. And it has many uses and many purposes. But the main one, or sort of the like ground zero part, or the beginning part, is that we have a lot of tension in our pelvis. Some of that tension is physical, because a lot of our big movements originate in the pelvis, and even when we're being still, our pelvis is still doing little minute motion so that we're not falling over. So there's a lot of work that happens in the pelvis. But some of that tension is actually somatic or tied to our emotions. Our elimination organs are in the pelvis. Our reproductive organs are in the pelvis. Our genitalia are in the pelvis. We got some issues around those organs. And so those issues, those emotions that are generally not so great, those the emotions that we have around any of those organs get sort of translated into tension in the pelvis.
Kind of trapped there in tightness.
Trapped in tightness. And acute tension manifests as pain, but chronic tension manifests as numbness. So then we have this chronically numb pelvis, both physically and energetically. So then we've got like our erotic energy, which is created and stored in the pelvis, and we can't access it. Or we can stoke it up by masturbation or sex, but it doesn't go anywhere else. It just stays locked in there. It hangs out there. And so the anal breath is around brings loosening up the pelvis in preparation. I mean, it's as I said, it can be used in and of itself, but it also is a way to prepare the body for then circulating the erotic energy. So we could do a little
version of that. And so our listeners, if they we have a lot of regular listeners, if they've listened to the last 3 episodes, we've done actually the last 5 episodes. April and I, who are my co-hosts, who you have not met, we've had our own sessions where we've worked with sexological bodyworkers. I've been working with one regularly because I do experience a lot of work. I didn't really realize that the tension causes numbness, but I have. So I can totally relate to what you're talking about, and I find but I just still, and now that when you're speaking, I'm like, oh, the breath. So anyways, just want to put that out there. Like there's some dots connecting in my brain. So I'm just really, really curious about it. And I can see how that relates to my own journey. But I digress. Go back to the anal breath.
So the anal breath, ways that folks use this just by itself, it can be used as a form of meditation to sort of deepen your embodiment. It can be used to remediate stress and or pain. So I do my own events, which are about 4 hours, and that's after working to get them down from 8 hours. So they're 4 hours now. Yeah. But when I do them at conferences, they're usually 90 minutes to 2 hours. And a lot of times folks will come for, whatever reason. And then when I ask folks, what do you notice? Definitely had a lot of people who were like, I have chronic pain and I'm noticing that like I'm not feeling pain right now. And that's like the first time, this week that I'm not feeling pain. It can also be a way to just notice what is happening in your body and where are the places that you hold tension, because sometimes the places where you hold tension are cues for the work that you need to do. That the body holds stories, whether those are stories that were really great and by story I don't mean fiction, I mean experiences of your life, right? So the body holds stories in places, and sometimes you're like, oh, I'm having this issue around X, Y, and Z, and I don't know why, and I keep trying to work on it, and like it's just not changing, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that like there's some story that your conscious mind has forgotten that
your body has. Not.
Your body's
book. The body keeps a score.
The body keeps a score. It does not forget. And so using the breath to unlock, let me process this story. Now I've acknowledged this story, I've processed this story, and now I can do the change that I, because now I recognize that there was something I was holding on to.
And I think the folks that are like, oh, what are you talking about? I can't breathe into my knee where there's pain, but you just talked about it isn't just like imagination, focus. Literally, you're talking about the breath and this nerve system and it moving breath and energy all through your body. Like this is actual science.
It's actual science. Now it's interesting because the sexological bodywork, you do a radical thing, you learn this new cutting edge thing, and then like the next time they teach it, there's like more interest. There's more stuff in it. So there wasn't a lot of like the science part when we were being taught, but now there's when folks do it, there's a lot of the science.
More,
and so because they've been doing more and more studies about it, especially the role of the vagus nerve in healing trauma.
Yes.
So there's a lot more research out there.
Well, even just the general consensus about the body retaining trauma and not just using talk therapy to heal it is like not brand new, but the fact that people are really finally getting on board for that is fairly recent.
It's fairly recent,
yeah.
Okay, so
anal breath.
Anal breath.
I feel like I might call this podcast anal breathing, by the way, because anal is one of our top searched words.
No, anal breath. And the other reason it's called anal. The other reason is I always joke that it's called anal breath. So Chester, my teacher, and one of the people I claim as an affinity ancestor, his nickname was Avatar of Ass.
Avatar of Ass.
And he believed that you could not love your body if you didn't love your butthole. Right? And he's like, so think about the parts of the body that we actually use as insults for other people.
Asshole.
So how are we going to have this claim we have this loving relationship with our body, but there's this one site that we like use to hurt other people.
Yeah.
Like we
totally.
use its name to hurt other people. So
love your asshole.
Love your asshole. You can't love your body if you don't love your asshole. Okay, so listeners, what you're going to do is if you're sitting, you're going to grab your butt cheeks. You're going to separate them so that you're sitting on your sits bones.
So I can do one because I have to hold a microphone the other, so I'll separate one. I don't have to hold them to separate.
Yeah, you just separate. You want to be on your sits bones, not, like as if you're trying to kiss the surface of what you're sitting on with your butthole.
So my ass cheeks are spread. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta have the ass cheeks spread. If you have your if you're sitting up, because you can also do this lying down, but if you're sitting up, you want to have your if you're like I'm sitting in the chair, you're cross-legged. If I'm sitting in the chair, you want your feet on the ground, but that cross-legged like that is fine. I'm trying not to burp into the microphone.
Not good.
Not a good. Well, that won't sound good.
Must be the anal breathing.
Well, actually, one of the things that Chester taught me, like if I'm massaging somebody And then I'm like suddenly just start burping during the session. That's like my body is processing energy from them, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna breathe. We're just gonna breathe in through the nose and then out through the mouth. And you want this to be as effortless and as relaxed as possible. So just in through the nose, and then the jaw just drops and the air just leaks out. And your spine, rather than being in the back of you, is actually in the middle, because it's the lollipop stick, and your body is the lollipop around it. A round lollipop, not the flat ones from the dentist's office, the round ones. And so when you expand on the inhale, you want to be expanding in all directions, in front of you, to the sides, and even backwards. And then you want to bring your awareness to your jaw. And if it feels clenched, you want to wiggle your chin around or do a big fake yawn. Just want to relax the muscles there. And then you want to bring your awareness to your butthole. And if it feels clenched, you want to consciously unclench it. And if you're not sure if it's clenched, because a lot of times we walk around with a really clenched butthole and we don't know, you want to consciously clench and then consciously let it go. And it's this unclenched state that you're going for. Just continue to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. The mouth, the butthole, opposite ends of the same tube. Tension in one transmits itself through the torso to the other end of the tube. So we're going to try to work on relaxing the torso by making sure that both ends of the tube are relaxed. In through the nose and out through the mouth. With your awareness and your butthole and your front genitalia, just notice how or what you feel there. And feel could be a sensation. It could be an emotion. It could be an element, a color, a shape, a sound, or some concept I haven't even mentioned. You're just noticing what you're experiencing in your pelvis right now. And also noticing if it's the same on the inhale as it is on the exhale, or does the quality of what you experience change? And then you're going to notice on your next inhale, as you expand, where does your sense of self stop expanding? Because you are not your body. You inhabit your body, but those are two separate things. So where does your sense of you-ness stop expanding on your inhale? Does your sense of you-ness stop before the surface of your skin? Does it stop expanding at the surface of your skin? Or does your sense of your you-ness expand beyond the borders of your skin? There's no right or wrong answer. You're just noticing what's true for you. And then on your next exhale, notice where your sense of self stops contracting. You contract on the exhale. Does your sense of self stop contracting before the surface of your skin? Does it stop at the borders of your skin? Or does your sense of self contract into a deep ball deep inside your body? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. You're just noticing what's true for you. An inhale and an exhale equal one breath. You're going to do 5 more breaths. And then slowly bring your awareness out of your body and back into the room around you. If your eyes somehow closed, you're going to open them by the end of the 5th breath. Yeah. By the end of the 5th. And then I always ask people, like, what did you notice? Was there anything challenging or surprising or just interesting. Now, when I'm doing this, we do the whole body. We like start at the feet and work our way up. But
it's abbreviated version.
This is a very abbreviated version.
I was doing this, and hopefully, if you were all driving, someone you pulled over for this, or you can always rewind.
Right.
And I noticed that energy somehow having my butt cheeks spread, energy moved more freely into my pelvis than it normally does. Because I will try to do circular breathing, breathe into my pelvic floor, and it also feels like it only goes in the front and not the back, is what I noticed. I noticed it felt like the breath and energy was able to move more freely into my pelvic floor. And when you had the part about something with the asshole, obviously, I just felt by breathing, inhaling in, and just feeling that. You had me clench to make sure it was relaxed, and then I realized that it probably wasn't super tight, but there was a little tightness. And so when I tightened and then relaxed, then my whole lower body, I felt my legs go down, and I just didn't realize that I was tightening. And I'm just so curious as to how much I'm walking around here with this tight pelvic floor.
Exactly.
Even if it's not, not like
super clenched,
but
right?
Still, there's still some tightness there that I can feel that I didn't even know I could release more.
A lot of times, I don't have a car, or I used to have a car, but I don't have a car. And so when I used to take public transportation, it would be like, that was one of the things I would do. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the subway. Let me just check in. Is my butthole clenched? Oh, my butthole's clenched. Let's just take a deep breath and then just relax the butthole.
So how's my butthole in this moment?
How's my butthole?
It's a good question to ask yourself. So for folks who are doing this, so let's just start with some of the benefits. So that when we did talk about in the beginning, but kind of remind this is what are some of the benefits of people starting to do a regular practice of this? What could they see shift?
Well, one of the things, so again, this was a very, very abbreviated version. But even if there's I have some free MP3s on my website. But so say you're doing this breath where you instead of only checking in with the pelvis, you like start at the feet and then work your way up to the head, right? You're doing the whole body. So one, it can be a way of quieting the mind so that we can listen to what the body says. So in a holistic ideal existence, the body, the mind, and the spirit work together, right? They have equal say. But in this society, we tend to, only listen to the mind, totally negate the body, and then depending on whether we even believe there's such a thing as a soul, there's different ways that we interact with that. So part of this is like, shut up, mind. You're like leading me astray. Hush. So you're quieting the mind so that you can hear what the body wants to say. And then you're also sort of sending a signal to the body like, hey, I know you've been trying to talk to me and now I'm open.
I'm finally here for you.
I'm here for you. I'm open. And then you get to,
which is like kind of the greast act of self-love you could do is
ever.
show up for yourself.
Show up for yourself and show up for your body. And when I have folks do this, I also have them part of it so that it doesn't just become the body speaking without any translation of what it means. I have people choose words to describe what they're feeling. One word, just one. And then you start to notice over time, my body speaks to me in colors, or my body speaks to me in sound, or, my pelvis speaks to me in sound, but my chest speaks to me in colors, and my feet are always different shapes. And then you start to pick up the shorthand of what your body wants to tell you, right? So that's one thing. So you develop an understanding of what your body is trying to tell you about. Your body has things to say about every single part of your day, and without fail, your body's an early warning system. Your body is not just early warning system in the sense of like this is not a good situation, but also like, oh, this person or this experience is really groovy. Like there's a way that your body will let you know. And then it also can be really helpful if you're trying to do deep meditation, again, because it shuts the mind up. And like I can't do sort of standard meditation. My brain wanders but I find with this, it's easier because I'm like focused on, I have something I'm focusing on. and then I move to the next thing, and I have something to focus on. So
it's like a body scan.
That's what I call it, the body scan.
But this is actually incorporating the whole pelvic floor, the
pelvic
anus,
floor.
which is most body scans are not doing.
Right. We just like as if there's nothing there. We're just gonna skip over this part.
Knee, hip, and now we're in your belly.
Right. Like,
wait, what about my ass?
Yeah, what about my ass? Yeah. We're like everything originates in the pelvis, right? Like if you are not clear about what's going on in your body's pelvis, it's going to be really hard to maintain, to hear what other parts of your body are saying. And it's especially, this practice is especially helpful for folks who live in bodies marginalized by the state. People often say, marginalized bodies. The bodies are not marginalized, and it's not a passive thing. These bodies are actively marginalized by the state. So people who live in bodies that are marginalized by the state or multiply marginalized by the state, there's a way in which we carry ourselves with an incredible amount of tension and guarding. It's a form of protection. It's not like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like it's a form of protection. We're hyper vigilant, waiting for like the next micro or macro aggression, so there's a way that we're totally not conscious of the way that our body is always on guard and always tense. So you want to have some moments where your body can let go of that tension. It's a form of self-love. It's a form of healing. It's not good for your body, whether your physical body or your energetic body, to carry that much tension 24/7. So giving yourself some moments of as relaxed as you can go, and with time, it'll be easier to drop in deeper and deeper and deeper. And then if you're doing this because you want a better sex life or a more satisfying sex life, this is also a way to tap into your body so that you're no longer saying yes to things you don't want.
Compliant sex, tolerant sex.
Which is not satisfying.
Yeah, well, talk about invitation for your body to numb out. It's like, keep doing that thing that doesn't feel good.
Right, then I'm out of here. So it can be a way to really help to give the reins to your body and have your body sort of be like, we are not saying yes to this mediocre ass sex anymore. And we're going to ask for what we know what we want. And we're going to ask for it. Or we don't know what we want, and we're going to take steps to figure out what it is that we want. Right. And if this person can't do that, then we have other options. We do not have to settle.
Yeah, or we don't have to settle. We don't have to play. I love that you brought that back. And will you remind our listeners that you said marginalized by the state, because some people might be like, what do you mean? What are you
so there's a the language of social justice is ever evolving, and there's a way that people talk about folks from communities that have historically been oppressed, erased, or denied access to society's resources. And one of the ways people talk about that now, say, for example, Black folks, listeners, I'm Black. So there's a way that folks might talk about Black communities where, it's not like all Black people are poor and suffering, but there is historical marginalization.
Totally.
And I personally don't like the phrase marginalized people or marginalized bodies, because there's nothing inherently marginalizing about our bodies, and it removes the focal point in that it makes it sound like this passive. Somehow we don't know how these bodies just happen to be marginalized. No, they are actively marginalized by the state, and I don't mean like the state of California, right? I mean like the state in capital letters. So that I always choose to frame it that way.
Yes.
Living in bodies that are marginalized or multiply marginalized by the state.
And so you're saying that there's this tightness of living, what cortisol and that like I need to protect myself, that folks who are living in the marginalized state,
living in bodies marginalized
by the state, are experiencing greater numbers than folks who are not.
Right. And that tension of having to be hyper aware for where the next threat is coming from. Like you can do the most remedial of research and find out how that's actually affecting people's lives. Like Black folks have the rate of death among Black women giving birth is like astronomical, and that's across the board, no matter what what social class or socioeconomic status they enjoy. Like they're dying in a huge number, and part of that is whether or not the medical industrial complex takes them seriously.
Yes, exactly.
But also it's about the stress
their bodies,
the stress of the bodies. Like that takes the cortisol. And again, they're doing more and more studies to. We call it Water is Wet Wednesday, right? Like things that people have already known, but now we've got studies that show in numbers that stress leads to, bad heart, and that leads to this, and it leads to that. And so this is one way we can provide our bodies with some space to relax, especially to relax the pelvis.
Thank you for clarifying that for me too, and your listeners. Okay, so remind me, we're saying bodies that are marginalized by the state.
Yeah, people living in bodies.
People living in bodies are marginalized by the state. Okay, I mean, I can listen to this podcast. It's good to practice. Okay. There are people that are trying to get into the house and do their evening things.
What is this, like an hour?
No, it's only for 41 minutes. Perfect.
Okay.
Remind our listeners. So this, obviously, this was an abbreviated version. You just said you normally do these much longer sessions. Sometimes they're 4-hour group work. How can people find you? How can they work with you? I know you do in person. I know you do online. But if they really want to dive deeper into this work,
so they can check out my website, Fierce Passions. That's with an S. .com. As you said, I do one-on-one individual work, both in person in the Oakland, California area. Although I do sort of go around, I travel around the country, and when I'm in different places, I'm open to doing live sessions. But I also do online sessions, individual coaching, and I also do in-person group events. But I'm doing more and more webinars and online. Well, not web. I'm calling them cyber courses, because I learned recently that folks think webinars are the things where there's like the talking head that you have no interaction with.
Oh, interesting.
But that's not what I mean. So I mean, like we're online, but we can see each other, and we can like interact in real time. So I've started calling them cyber courses.
We're working together. Yes.
Yeah, we're working together. Yeah. So I do that in groups.
Okay.
So anywhere from, I think, sometimes they're very small groups, they're like 3 or 4 people. Sometimes they're very large groups, like 20 or 30 people. And my next webinar will be in August. The dates have not been chosen yet, but it'll be up on my website. And if you go to my website and then subscribe, then you would get that information before anybody else.
Say your website one more time?
fiercepassions.com. An easy way to remember this, em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee means fierce passion in Swahili.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so somebody else owns the URL Fierce Passion, so I had to add an S to it. So it's Fierce Passions.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's what you're like, all right, I guess. I mean, it's still Fierce Passion. Fierce Passions. I like it, though. It's like it kind of flows better than Fierce Passion.
That's
like
true, I think.
And then you're on Facebook. So
I'm on Facebook, Fierce Passion. I'm on IG. Facebook is Fierce Passions. Facebook/Fierce Passions. IG, as the kids say, or Instagram, Fierce_Passions. Twitter, em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee for em-KAH-lee-HAH-she-kee. And I think that I'm not getting Tumblr.
Those are the ones, yeah.
Tumblr's not happening.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Tumblr's. They're not. Yeah. That's not a different story now. Thank you so much for taking your. It's the evening. It's still warm out.
It's still warm.
The sun's finally gone though, so we can now go outside without be like and jump back in the pool. Thank you for taking your time this evening to guide us, and I'm definitely going to be practicing breathing into my asshole and incorporating more. Oh. I'm also not going to call people assholes the way I used to.
Oh, one last thing I forgot to say. So there are free or pay what you want, including $0, streaming downloadable MP3s of the full exercise
on your website.
On my website.
Oh, awesome! So it's like you can donate for however much. Yeah,
however much you want.
Cool, and then you get a longer version.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing for people. They're like, how do I do this on my own? It was so much easier when you were guiding me. And then they just press play, and then they have a happy full body, and then your asshole is online.
Right, your asshole's online.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, April's not here once again, but hopefully we can get her to Sex Geek Summer Camp next year, because I'll be back. But as April would say, well, before April says that, April would be here drinking wine. She'd be drinking Margins wine. She would tell you, everyone, go to marginswine.com. You'll learn why it's our favorite wine. Women-owned and operated winery in Santa Cruz. Support your local boutique wine, marginswine.com. But after that, what would she say? She'd say, Ciao for now. Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.